Hi all, this is Noel from UK Smith and Cosplay. So as you can see, Batman is coming along very nicely, and I just wanted to go through a quick tutorial because I don't know if you have the same problem like me, getting gauntlets to fit without sliding around because they're too big, so they just tend to move around and you're constantly adjusting them, or like I've done in this case where I've tried to scale them correctly, but as they've been painted and stuff, I've now got to the point where I can't actually get my hands in anymore. But I know that once they're done, they're going to fit quite snugly, which is what I'm looking for. So it leaves you in a really strong position as what do you do now? So I've thought about many different ways of doing it, and I've used different things. Now you've got external buckles that some people have done, which would probably fit with this more tactical thing, but I think you need to think that through prior to this stage, obviously. To make incisions and then put the elastic through and then work out how you're going to attach it here. I also tend to find that it can look a little bit messy. And do you do it before you paint or after you paint, because the glue doesn't attach to the paint very well? So, it's a bit of a way up as to what you can do. I've thought about putting elastics on the inside. I was going to use 50mm elastic to maybe use that, but the problem is with elastic is it's only two-way stretch, so it doesn't stretch that way, it only stretches that way. So you have to put, and then you're left with gaps, and it's like, I've done that before and it's okay, but I don't really, it's not the ideal solution. Sometimes it's the only solution, but it's not the ideal solution. So what do you do? So I've been working with neoprene. Now neoprene is four-way stretch. It's not as stretchy as elastic, but it is stretchy, and it does tend to work very, very well. So my thought is that I only need to have a little bit of stretch on this to be able to slide it on and off with ease, but it will spring back then to fitting me more snugly, so I'm not chasing it around as I'm as I'm trying to wear the costume, that I'm not having to constantly adjust this. I want it to stay in place. So I thought what I would do is take an existing seam. I did a pretty rubbish job of sealing this seam, but because it was underneath I didn't worry too much. But now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut along that seam there to open up the thing. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the neoprene, which glues in very easily with contact cement, and just glue that on the inside. And that hopefully should give me enough stretch that I'll be able to get what I need to slip the thing on and off quite easily. So that's the plan of action. So I'm doing a quick tutorial on it and see whether it works. As usual with all of my videos, they're not pre-done, and I'm not in a position where I'm able to do too much in terms of sorting things out post, because I don't do post, I do as it is. So it's picking the seam that's going to be least visible, which for me is the one that's going to be on the inside, closest to your body. So the fins are on the outside, this is going to be on the inside. There's an existing seam, sorry, here. I'm going to use that as my seam, and then I'm going to glue that piece of neoprene on the inside, and hopefully that should be able to achieve what I want it to achieve. Now you can pretty much glue up to the edge on that. There'll be a slight opening, and that will be all the stretch I think that it needs to get it on and off. Still not going to be sort of perfect, but it'll do what it needs to do, and it'll stay in place, not slide around. Scalpel, find the seam that you're looking for, and just open it up along that seam carefully. Oh, the lovely sound. There we go. It's a fresh blade, so it's a nice clean cut. So now that's opened up that along there. So once I slide it on, it gives me a good idea, as you can see. Oh, you can see that, yeah. It's a very small amount that I need to to have as give for it to be able to stay in place. So I can actually glue quite a substantial amount on both sides, leaving like a 1/2 inch gap in the middle, where that needs to give me enough stretch to be able to slide it on and off, and it goes back to a very reasonable position where it's almost closed. That's my plan. So I've opened it up. Now get my contact cement. Wipe off the excess. And then I just wipe that straight on. I've made a neck seal, treating it basically like 2mm foam, which was an idea and thought process that was given to me by Bat Out of Hell Cosplay, who I actually got the pattern from, and he started using neoprene because it was stretchy and you could just pull it on straight over your head. So I made it in the same way as I made the neck seal that's on this one, which that's made out of 3mm foam, but I did it in neoprene and it works really well. The only thing that I'd need to do is I'd want a better neoprene material than what this is. This is really useful for a lot of things, but in terms of being an external visually pleasing one, I'm not convinced that it's got enough shine for me to work with my cosplays. Okay, so that's applied it there. Of course, with contact cement you apply it to both sides. And that's material, so that's soaking straight in, so I don't need to wait the normal 5-10 minutes you need for this to go off. So I then apply that down the inside gap of there. And of course it's raw foam inside, hasn't been painted on the inside, so the contact cement will adhere to that very, very cleanly. And it doesn't matter if you go a little bit excess. Better to have a wider gap that the neoprene doesn't quite meet than not enough. Seal that up. Okay. And if people are interested where I got this from, because every time I use it, people say, well, where did you get it from? Now, it looks beaten up because it's old. I got this from a local shoesmith cobbler, and this is what they use to put the soles on shoes, and it comes complete with a brush. Now, you can buy this brand new online. A litre tin of this will set you back about 25 quid, but worth the money, I think. But I don't know how good it is in terms of foam. So what I tend to do is I tend to use Evo Stick contact adhesive and pour it straight into that tin, because the brush is already attached to the lid. In case you missed that, so the brush is already attached. I didn't do that, that's how it came. So it's not going to fall out. When I try to make my own, inevitably it ends up falling out. But also it's designed to seal airtight. So it means that the contact cement inside, for the most part, stays nice and liquid. Providing A, you remember to tighten the lid all the way, which I often don't. And secondly, that every now and then you may need to thin it, which I use the Evo Stick adhesive remover, and I use that as a thinner. Right, like I say, it's already gone off on the material, so what I'm doing now is I'm just going down, not quite flush to the edge, but near as. Okay, so that's it there. Now I want to leave just a tiny gap along here, so there's a lot of overlap here. But I'd rather have lots of overlap with lots of grab than not enough. So I'm lining it up, just so I've got about 1/4 inch. and keep that all the way along, and then just firmly grab that in. And I say, because it's material, it absorbs quite quickly into it, so therefore the attachment is actually quite strong quite quickly. So I should be able to slip this straight on. Boom. There's the seam on the inside. It's black, so that works well. Obviously, I'll leave that a little while longer for it to fully cure. But that's now become a very easy slip-on, slip-off gauntlet that actually fits and doesn't slide around. That's going to stay in place. So ignore my movement. So that should work well with the rest of my Batman. So just a quick tutorial, just to sort of work that out, and hopefully getting some neoprene. I bought quite a bit of it, I think 2 meters by 1 meter. It was about just under £20, I think. I bought it on eBay. To be honest with you, that's going to last me years. I can't see me using it at any great rate, unless I start making body parts and underbody parts, which I'm considering for things like this to fit around the side. So as opposed to using straps, which is what I currently have. I don't know if you can see that actually. There you go. So I currently use straps, and I'm thinking of using neoprene instead with a zip. Something I'm thinking about doing later on. So it's worth having a fairly decent stock for the money that it's worth. You know, I can make a ton of neck seals, and you know, this is gauntlet 101 now for me. This is what I'll be using all the time to make it easy to slip on and off. Hope it's useful. All right, take care.